Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Altitude Adjustment. My name's Mario Vidanzi. That's Mike Carmellini. That's Cameron Parker. And that's Glenn, what's his name down there. And as you can see, there are four of us because sometimes on Altitude Adjustment, I like to do cover four where I get four people. I sometimes always like to do these things.
Oh my God, Mario, you're such an idiot. You can't always do something sometimes. What the hell?
Got him.
It's true.
Okay, well, this is Altitude Adjustment.
Hey, Bill, I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up.
And let's get started. Let me go ahead and change this light for you. I was told that it might be a little bit distracting if I did it for the entirety of the show. There we go. Is that better, Mike, on your gentle old eyes?
I mean, I put sunglasses on. I'm fine. And the day that we nail a cold open will be the Christmas probably.
Hey, Mike, how did the cataract surgery go today?
I'm fine. Don't worry about it. I'm tough. I got a pack. I got one pack. I got a PCL. I got a cataract.
But if it's fine, why are you wearing sunglasses?
It's not about me.
Okay, this is not what people are tuned in for. Thank you for the old man talk. We are going to go ahead and move right along. Let's do a quick roll call. Mike, we'll start with you. Plug all your shit so we can get started. Thanks.
Man, thanks, Mario. Thanks for always being in such a great mood, bringing positivity back to Broncos country. You can find me on Twitter, Mike Carmellini. Everybody follow me over there. And I link all my shows there, so don't even worry about it. You find me on YouTube. It's no big deal. What's up?
Cameron, I'm not here to plug your stuff now. I mean,
I'm here to help you.
In case you were wondering why we started late, it's because Cameron and Glenn think that they have more important things to do than this show. So, Cam, why don't you go ahead and plug what you think is so important?
Well,
such a dick.
To what Mario was referring to, we had a show that was actually just got done, and it's the 5280 podcast that is on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. You guys can also follow me over there on Twitter at Cameron Parker PO. I also do another show that is on Wednesdays. We're going to be recording on Thursday this week, though, and that is the Mainly Broncos podcast, and that is on Thursday. It is certainly a good time, and obviously I do the 5280 podcast with the guy to my right, on the bottom right, and that would be Glenn Hauser.
Hey, Glenn,
who I'm sure you're very sick of, but let's go ahead and hear from him anyway. Glenn, anything that you would like to plug aside from, maybe your bald head?
He's married, man. Be cool.
One of the founders of the MHRT network 5 years ago now, and one of the hosts of the 5280 podcast on that network. Check us out. We've got shows all throughout the week.
Fantastic. All right. If you are unfamiliar, thank you all for joining me. This is one of my favorite things to do. Like, I enjoy doing Engage 8, but it's such a cluster and there's so much going on. And I felt like, oh, what's a good football term that we can use that's not 8 people? And we came up with cover 4. Well, which is, of course, is fantastic. So I bring in some of the brightest minds in Broncos podcasting history to discuss 4 big-time topics. So if this is your first time, welcome. Not sure what took you so long to get here, but you're in the right place. And if you've been here before, then you know this is cover 4. And that beautiful graphic obviously brought to you by Render Force because I am too cheap to actually pay for the rights to the actual video. And so, Glenn, we'll actually get started with you for the first topic. Glenn, what is the first thing we are going to cover in this episode of Cover 4?
Well, I think it's fitting, especially on this show, Mario, with your history and your family's history with this man. Today marks the 4th anniversary of the passing of Demaryius Thomas, and it's it is nice to see that Broncos country and his former teammates still revere him in so many different ways. One of my favorite things when they talk about him is that a lot of the times it's not even about him as a teammate or any of his on the field accomplishments. It's him as a person. It's his interactions with their children. It's pushing, Peyton Manning talking about him pushing his son in the laundry cart after that. But Mario, if you don't mind, sharing a story or two just about how you met Demaryius initially, when your dad really helped him out before he signed his contract, I'd love to bring you in if that's all right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this is one of my favorite stories because it still feels so surreal to me. I mean, the whole situation, it doesn't feel real what happened 4 years ago. It just feels like it's been in a fog. But yeah, so the first time that I ever met Demaryius was at my dad's office. He, like so many players before him, was told about my dad, went to go get his body worked on, and this was the time of like the original collective bargaining agreement where if you were a holdout as a draft pick, you were not granted clemency the same way that like draft picks are. So the way that it used to work, when you were drafted to a team, they would put you up in a hotel, they would kind of pay for your stuff until you signed your contract. And if you were in fact a holdout, they would take all of those benefits away from you. And so Demaryius was on the brink of kind of being a holdout, which I learned at the time was a result of the agent, not the player. I mean, leading up to that fact, I always thought that, oh, the players are holding out for more money, they're being selfish, whatever, it shouldn't be this complicated. Demaryius was chomping at the bit. And said that he didn't care if he got less money than Des Bryant, who was taken after him, less money than Tim Tebow, who was taken after him by the same team. He was just chomping at the bit to go play, and obviously his agent talked some sense into him. He's like, no, you were drafted before them, you're getting more money. So he's in the office and he's telling my dad about his situation where he's not sure where he's going to stay. And my dad was like, well, why don't you come stay with us? You can sleep in our basement. You can come and go as you please. It's basically like a little ensuite down there. And Broncos legend Rod Smith, who was a frequent patient of my dad's, happened to be in there at the same time. And I think as a result, Rod told him, hey, man, you got to take that no distractions, go live with Dr. V. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to live with Broncos first round pick Demaryius Thomas for like a week or two. This is awesome. And so my dad's like, yeah, just follow Mario back to the house. He'll show you where you live, get you all set up. My dad failed to tell my mom that Demaryius Thomas would be living with us. So Demaryius goes and he just had like one little suitcase, a little Dob kit, gets all set up. And I think he went to go work out and went to the gym. My mom comes home a little bit later. And I saw her and I said, hey, have you met Demaryius? She said, what are you talking about? I was like, Demaryius Thomas, he was the Broncos' first round draft pick. He was in dad's office and doesn't have anywhere to stay. And dad invited him to stay with us. And my mom thought I was lying through no fault of her own. I was a rapscallion back then, even more so than I am now. And I was like, no, for real. Like he is staying with us. His stuff is here. She's like, Mario, I don't have time for this. Like, cut the crap. I'm like, go ahead and walk downstairs and look. So my mom, because she didn't believe me or trust me, walked downstairs, saw Demaryius' suitcase sitting there, and she goes, oh my God, I'm going to kill your father. And I was like, did he not tell you? And she goes, no, I had no idea that anybody would be staying with us. The house is a mess. It wasn't, but she always thought that the house was a mess. Cut to about a week and a half later. And I had like this is during the summertime, so I was almost going into my senior year at CU Boulder, and was going up there for a party. And one of the players that Demaryius had actually met on the team, I forgot who it was at this point, had been traded. Who I think had been traded for Joe Mays. So if somebody wants to look that up and see who they traded for Joe Mays, but that was one of his. I want to say JJ Arrington, maybe that's the name. But Demaryius was like upset that he got traded. And I was like, hey, man, why don't you come up to Boulder? Like, come to a little house party. Like, if you want to let off some steam, because he was stressed about his contract, too. Because, again, he wanted to go practice. He didn't want to be a holdout. And yeah, I'll come up with you, but I'll be the DD. I don't really drink. And so we get up to Boulder. And if you're unfamiliar with Boulder, not real diverse. At least not at this time. Maybe a little bit more so the last couple of years with prime time up there. But at the time, seeing a black guy was like seeing a unicorn. And seeing a black guy that looked like Demaryius Thomas was like seeing a pentacorn. You know, that's a unicorn with 5 horns. And I feel like we walked into the house and you could hear like a record scratch when you walked into the door. And one of the best things is we're playing beer pong, and of course everybody's kind of volunteering to drink his drinks because he wasn't drinking. And he slowly started reaching his elbow further and further over the table as we're playing. And you could see like the people that we're playing against are kind of like getting a little bit visibly upset because elbows over the table when you're playing beer pong, that's a big no-no. Demarius was doing it on purpose. And with his big ass arms, he was damn near just dropping the ball right into the cup. And so he nudges me and he's like, watch this. He reaches over as far as he can and basically drops the ball in. And they're just kind of looking at me, and I'm like, go ahead and say something. Call elbows on Demarius Thomas if you want to. Long story short, we ran the table for about 7 or 8 games. And maybe the funniest thing that DT did that night, when people would take shots and then would ultimately go chase that shot, they would take the shot, and then when they would reach up to try and chase their shot with their chaser, Demarius, with his big-ass hand, would put his hand on their arm and prevent them from being able to chase the shot. And it was jarring because like everybody knew who he was, and you're not going to say like, "Oh my God, what the hell are you doing? Let me go, Demarius Thomas." They just kind of like laugh nervously and were like, "Please, sir, let me take my chaser before I go throw up." So some of my favorite times, and just again, still so surreal to think that. You know, I not only attended a college party with Demarius Thomas, but that I was able to bring him and kind of share that experience with a lot of people who, you know, had no idea. You know, they show up to a random college party and there's Demarius Thomas.
So, Mario, you were right about J.J. Arrington, but not everybody knew it was Demarius, correct?
At first, yeah. So when he first walked in, we had a friend who was affectionately known as Drunk Mitch. And he walks in and people are kind of looking at him, and Demarius is wearing a Colorado Rockies hat, and our friend Drunk Mitch says, "Oh my God, it's Dexter Fowler." And that story has so lived in the lore of my friend group for a really long time. So yeah, again, it still doesn't feel real. And you were right about everything you said, Glenn. Like, genuinely just like such a great person. Spent all of his free time hanging out with kids at the I think it was the Metro Denver Boys and Girls Club. He was up there all the time. And yeah, just every story that you've ever heard about Demarius like really doesn't even do justice what a wonderful person and human being he is. And I was so glad that they were able to honor him, and that his mom was able to be in attendance. Mom and dad were able to be in attendance, and, you know, added to the Broncos Ring of Fame, which is of course deserved as arguably the greatest wide receiver in Denver Broncos history. And yeah, he's missed every day by me, by my family, and certainly by all of Broncos country.
Yeah. Amen to that, brother.
Yeah.
Well, segues are weird, so we're just going to go ahead and hit it. I appreciate you bringing that up, Glenn, and allowing me to share that. I'll always take an opportunity to share stories about Demarius because he truly was the best. But we also have some Broncos stuff to cover. That's why I brought you gents in here. And Cam, we're going to kick it to you. Yep. What are we covering in our second topic here, Cam?
I was gonna say it seems fitting. You know, we talked about a wide receiver, right? So it seems kind of fitting for us to talk about this wide receiver room, or I should say specifically the Troy Franklin dilemma, and you know, and kind of figuring out like what to do with this whole scenario of Franklin. You know, you get some highs, you get some lows. And in some critical moments, right? Like in some critical moments, and some of those critical moments are pretty significant drops in big moments. And and it's interesting because much like his quarterback had been, if you will, this year, just when you doubt him, he shows up in a big moment. You know, for example, obviously, you know, the Eagles game, the 2-point conversion, obviously the big moment in the Chiefs game. And then, you know, the 2-point conversion against the Houston Texans, which obviously that win is looking better each and every week. But like, I just think that it's one where specifically, you know, you got Pat Bryant, who's evolving as the season is gone on within this wide receiver room, and the team still hasn't figured out whether or not they want to use Marvin Mims or not on offense. So it's just, where does he kind of fit in? It's and it's one where you kind of tie a knot on it, where it's like they might still have confidence in him, and it might simply just be from Sean Payton or specifically Bo Nix, right? Like, and the moment that opportunity wavers, if you will, with Bo Nix, is possibly a moment where what is Troy Franklin? Is he going to be on the team next year? Is he, it's just a very interesting dilemma right now.
So then why don't you tell us what you would do in this situation, Cam? Because as you pointed out, like you brought up Pat Bryant, who is getting more and more work every week. And if I'm remembering correctly, and someone can double check this, Pat Bryant has gotten more snaps than Troy Franklin in each of the last 3 games, or certainly 2 of the last 3. Are we seeing a shift, Cam, where it feels like Sean Payton, Bo Nix are maybe trusting Pat Bryant more and his ability and his, I guess more capable hands or more sure thing hands? So what are you personally doing about this conundrum? Like, are you just limiting Troy Franklin's play time? Are you hoping that he figures it out in practice and that it translates to the game? Like, how are you approaching this?
Yeah, it's bizarre because I think my initial reaction is that I have to feel like it might be a little bit of a schematic thing. Like obviously there were some pretty heavy personnel, this last game with the Raiders, and they were running the ball really effectively. And we know that, Franklin, he's an okay blocker, but he's not nearly the blocker of Pat Bryant, or even obviously, little Jordan Humphrey even got some significant snaps, but I just think that it's one where maybe as this season is progressing and you're seeing the snap percentage starting to kind of go down with Troy Franklin, it does kind of make you wonder, what the future is going to hold for him. And I think it is frustrating because like Troy is a really talented wide receiver. Like there's no doubt, right? Like, and we even saw moments at the beginning part of the year, like that Colts game, where they featured him and he was just having a really good game against the Colts. Right. But it was just one where then you get these opportunities where he's dropping a really perfect ball from Bo, right? Like on the sideline against the Raiders, in some critical moments and stuff like that. So it's one where as these things start to kind of progress that, I does make you wonder. I think that the thing that I kind of fall back on, and it's really just the biggest thing for me, it's like, it really falls on Troy Franklin. But if Bo Nix specifically is losing trust in Troy Franklin, I don't know what the future is for him at this point on the roster, because the moment that ship has sailed with his former college quarterback, right, and current quarterback, yeah, I think you're starting to kind of see maybe a surge, if you will, with Pat Bryant as wide receiver 2 at that point.
Mike, go and expand on what Cam's saying. Are you agreeing with what he's talking down? Are you picking up what he's throwing down? What are you doing with Troy Franklin as it stands right now?
Yeah, first of all, shout out Mario for having us on the show, dude. It's awesome. It's great to see these 2 guys too. You know what? I agree with half of it and I disagree with half of it. So I think I've said this probably for the last month. I think Pat Bryant has the best hands on the team, including Courtland Sutton. But he's got 51 receptions and Courtland Sutton has 56. And they both have 5 touchdowns. So I think it's probably a little premature to start worrying about whether Troy Franklin will be on the team next year. I think that Pat Bryant is taking over the number 2 wide receiver position, and that's what I would do if I had any say in it at all. I think he's just more dependable. There's a crazy stat. He's got 22 receptions on the season, and it's like 18 of them have been for first downs. Like he's just a go-to guy. So I would bump him up and keep giving him more looks and more calls. But I'm not ready to throw the towel in on Troy Franklin at all.
Glenn,
Mike, when you're talking about
80. Let me set you up, Glenn. I know you're chomping at the bit. Just settle down there a little bit. Real quick, 82 KW 82. And I want you to kind of discuss this, Glenn, and then get into your thoughts on this. Mims and Bryant need to be the every down wide receivers next to Sutton Franklin needs to be a situational and matchup guy. Is that how you see it, Glenn? Do you agree with? I'll just call him KW because that name is just a nightmare.
Well, when Mike's talking about Bryant having all of those first down catches, a number of those were not past the sticks. He fought his way there. So he shows that he's got a lot of heart, a lot of awareness. I am loving Pat Bryant. I'd like to see him get more. The Marvin Mims situation is a real interesting one for me. It's like, and we've talked about it on our show too, is that, why is he not playing more wide receiver? What is going on like behind the scenes? Is it a route running thing? Is it a playbook thing? Like he is such a weapon and has such speed. We can't figure out what's going on and why he's not playing more. In the conversations that we've had about and switching gears to about Troy Franklin, it was more about some of the, like Cam said, some of these drops, some of these balls going right through the hands. There was a ball went right through his hands the other day. It looked initially like it was thrown high, but it actually was truly a catchable ball. The conversation we've had about Troy really stemmed from, if the Broncos are going to go hard after a real top tier wide receiver in the offseason, who's the odd man out? And that's like really, even though he has over 500 yards receiving, he's right up there in catches. I mean, has a chance to finish up, 700 yards or 800 yards potentially at the season. Who's going to be the odd man out with that? And with some of these drops and some of these obvious miscues, he was in the conversation. We'll see what happens. Dave Logan this week actually said that, Bo Nix loves Troy Franklin. So, they're not going to make a move unless Bo endorses that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it's important to keep in mind, like, as we're discussing who we think is going to be on the roster next year, obviously it's very premature and there's a lot of season left and hopefully a lot of postseason left. But if you flash back to a year ago and we were kind of seeing the emergence of Devon Vele, who last year was more reliable than Troy Franklin. I don't think anybody would argue with that. If you had said to people, to Broncos country, to any one of you last season that, Devon Vele will not see his second year in Denver because they're going to trade him. Now, extenuating circumstances, obviously, the return that you got for a 25-year-old seventh round pick is insane. But that notwithstanding, like, if they had full belief that, Devon Vele could really be the guy here, then you're not trading him, because then his value surpasses a fourth round pick or whatever it is that they ended up getting back. And I think the emergence of Pat Bryant in training camp made them feel more comfortable with getting rid of Devon Vele. And I bring that up because it's the perspective is important. It's not impossible to say that, Troy Franklin isn't dealt. Like, I don't think he's going to be released. I don't think he's going to be cut from the team. But if you have a team that is, in desperate need of a burner, like a poor man's Rashid Shaheed, and we saw what he went for to the Seattle Seahawks, and you find a guy like that, or a speedy wide receiver needy team who, maybe they're willing to float you a fourth or a fifth round pick. And so you're breaking even on your investment essentially for a Troy Franklin. And I'm not saying that that's what I would do. I'm just saying, like, let's keep in mind, nobody at this point last season thought that there was any way that Devon Vele was not in the future plans for this team. Things can change really rapidly. And if the Broncos target a wide receiver in the draft, which I think they would be foolish not to at this point, and we could have another situation where maybe this rookie receiver comes in and he kind of edges Troy Franklin out the way that Pat Bryant did with Devon Vele. You find a Troy Franklin-esque type of player, someone that can take the top off, so who can have that separation, but then also is more reliable catching the ball on a consistent basis. Then maybe he phases Troy Franklin out. But again, a lot of this is premature. And I think the fact that we can have this discussion kind of talks about, points in the direction of where this team is at. If this team wasn't like a legitimate Super Bowl contender, then I don't think that we're nitpicking about this because, Mike, like you had pointed out, he's got good stats and he's filling up the stat sheet and he's having almost as good a year, arguably better year than Cortland Sutton in some metrics. So are you willing to go away from that? And I think down this stretch where you have, probably the most difficult stretch looking back on the season right now, Green Bay is arguably the best team in the NFC. The Jaguars are one of the hottest teams in the NFL. Kansas City in December, regardless of how good or bad you think that team is at any given time, historically, Denver is really bad in Kansas City in December. They're bad in Kansas City, period. But in December, I think they've only won 1 or 2 games all time. And then you close the season against the Chargers, which you're hoping as a Broncos fan is not going to be an important game. And maybe that's a game where you have the number 1 seed locked up in a perfect world. But if that's a game that you have to win the AFC West or to get that number 1 seed or both, that is another really tough game. And these are the moments that guys like Troy Franklin are going to have to step up, because when they inevitably make the playoffs, who's getting those targets? Because I think they start to shrink in the playoffs. You're not going to spread the ball around quite as much in the playoffs. You're going to focus on a handful of really good guys that you can trust. And so in these next 4 games, in a limited play time, as we're going to see, like if the trend tells us anything, is Troy Franklin going to be able to step up and show that he can consistently keep getting open like he can, but that he can also convert the opportunities that he's getting?
Yeah, and
Mike, go ahead, Cam.
No, and I would just continue. I'm not even advocating for the Broncos to even move on, from Troy Franklin, even at this point. It's just the dilemma we're dealing with, right? Like it is just simply the dilemma that we're dealing with. Well, and I want to piggyback off what you're talking about, like with the big moments, because like we saw it for how fans simply are in big games, in turning on a player for criticizing him, then big drops and everything like that, because that was all Demaryius. Like at times, like when Demaryius would have a drop, fans have been criticizing his drops for a long time. That I mean, we've all seen it. I mean, and even to his toughness, and talking about like his toughness and everything too with Demaryius. But like, I think with Troy, the other side of it too is like he's had drops, but it's also one like if you were to compare it to last year, there's no way like you can look at it and say that we haven't seen progress. We've seen progress from Troy Franklin. It's just in some of these moments and some of these key moments, can he be a guy that is relied upon on a regular basis in some of these big games? And I think that, in some cases, in some of these moments, to make some of these plays and 2-point conversions and everything, you could argue they have. Like they absolutely have. I would just say, like, for me, argumentatively, for seeing Troy and what I would like to see a little bit more from him, I would like to see less body catching, right? Like I would like to see less body catching and using his hands a little bit, and because I think that maybe too often he's using those body catches, because if he's not doing the body catch on that like critical 4th down play that they somehow reversed, if you will, against the Raiders, they do convert that 4th down play, right? Like they do convert that 4th down play. So I just think as things are kind of progressing, and he's making some of these plays in big moments, against the Green Bay Packers, say for a go-ahead score, those are going to matter for fans, right? Like those are going to matter for fans, because those are the moments that they're going to remember that, wow, he really did show up when 4 games, as we're fighting for number 1 seed, he showed up. And that's really what's going to end up mattering.
Fans, it's what have you done for me recently? What have you done for me lately? They have a short attention span and they have a short memory. And I think it was you, Cam, that brought up that game in Indianapolis. That feels like a lifetime ago. Like, yeah, we all thought that was Troy Franklin's coming out party, and he didn't necessarily trend in the direction that we needed him to. Mundungus wants to know, Mario, did the Colts give you a call before they called Grandpa Rivers? No, I threw my name into the hat. And compared to Phillip Rivers, like, man, I'm a spring chicken. I'm not a grandpa. Like, I'm about 85% sure that Phillip Rivers is in fact a grandpa. He's got to be the first grandpa to ever play in the NFL. Posted my highlights where I was doing the Russell Wilson workouts. And every time Russell Wilson did those workouts and put that out on film, everybody got so excited. So I thought, maybe the Colts would see it and think, yeah, we're familiar with Phillip Rivers, but this guy, he can do everything that Russell Wilson can do. And he's about the same level of obnoxious. And so, yeah, we can get some Russell Wilson production up in here. So, no, Mundungus, I appreciate you asking. Yeah. The Colts did go in a different and incorrect direction and decided to sign Phillip Rivers. Didn't even give me a call. Yeah, didn't shoot me a DM.
I do have some inside. I have some inside information on that. I have a source with the Colts, and it wasn't about you. Mario. They love what they saw. They love everything about you. It was really just they couldn't afford you. So it just
Mike,
came
there
down
was-
to money.
yeah.
It just came down to money.
know,
It
I
came
think
down to
that's-
cap. I mean, it's just a business. Keep doing what you're doing, and the right situation will come along. But it just like I said, it was you got the better arm, you got the better looks, you got you're as tall as Baker Mayfield. They can make that work. They had it all figured out. They had special cleats, made to give you a couple more inches. And
taller
Baker
than
Mayfield's
Kyler
on top,
Murray.
baby.
I'm taller than Kyler Murray. I shared an elevator with him one time, and he was looking me right in my nose.
This is the third time you've
So
tried to
did you
bring
say
this
hi,
guy
Mr. Murray?
into
What
this
floor
show.
would you like to go to? Also that Pip Rivers can actually help attendance too. He brings the family, and
Just
they
bring
can
his
fill a
kids.
whole nother
Yeah.
section. Yeah.
Well, I was going
I
to say
mean, that's a very valid point. You're going to sell more tickets just to get his entire family there. Yeah, absolutely. Mike, we'll kick it to you for the third coverage point. What are we discussing in the world of Mike Carmellini?
Little bit of running back, and when I say little, I mean little. So 3 days ago, and Mario, we talked about this right before we went live. I had a video out that went crazy for some reason, and I was saying that the Broncos need to sign a bigger back. And you guys know those amusement park signs that you walk up to and it's some indiscriminate creature and you have to be taller than that sign to go on the ride.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Broncos have one of those at the practice facility. And if you're taller than that as a running back, they won't let you in. And I'm going to back that up with a little bit. All right. So let's rewind to April.
Sorry, folks.
At the draft, and everybody was talking about how little tiny RJ Harvey was. Here's some numbers for you. RJ Harvey is 5'8", 205. Remember that number because that's going to be important. Jaleel McLaughlin is 5'7", 187. Tyler Bidet, 5'8", 197. Deuce Vaughn, of all people on the practice squad, if you don't know, we have a Deuce Vaughn on our practice squad, is literally the smallest player in the entire league at 5'5", 176. So I talked about Sincere McCormick, and I said, let's bring this guy in. He looks like a badass. I'm watching his highlights. He's only got one, but he's averaging 4.7 yards a carry. I'm like, that's our guy. Get it done. 50,000 views later, I look like an idiot. He's 5'8", 205. He's the same freaking size as RJ Harvey. All right, that's okay. That's okay.
What was
Because-
JK?
He was bigger than he was?
5'10", 212, I think. That's off the top of my head.
I think David has the solution. Adam Prentice needs more
Okay,
carries.
so Adam Prentice is 6 foot even, 245 pounds. And
give me some
he
of that.
is going to get
Some
carries
beef.
in the playoffs. But think about this. RJ Harvey is literally the biggest back on the team. He's our big back. And I was worried about this, guys. Going into we are a legitimate Super Bowl contender now. Let's quit screwing around. Let's just admit that. Okay. If we need a piece, let's go get him. George, Sean, go get a big running back. After that Raiders game, oh, by the way, RJ Harvey, 75 yards on 17 carries, 4.4 yards a carry. This is again 13 runs against a stacked box. Guys, a stacked box is 8 guys or more in the box to stop the run. He had successful runs on 10 of those runs. 10 out of 13. By the way, the last person to have anything close to that was Derrick Henry in 2022. That's how good he did against stacked boxes. Like, I think we may have found our running back. And I'm not even sure that I'm worried about it anymore. I mean, so when Terrell Davis used to play, before you guys were even born,
Mike talked himself out of this being a problem in real time.
Don't put Paul in a timeout. I'm on my box. I'm staying on it. You can't give me. When Terrell Davis played, he averaged like 25 carries a game. Okay. It took that for him to get going. I think RJ might be that same way. I think 17 is the most carries he's ever had. The last every time he gets at least 14, he does really well. He's just getting warmed up. If he had 25 carries, he would have had 120 yards in that last game. I think it's up for discussion that we might be fine with the room we've got. Maybe we stay with him.
Glenn,
that's what I'm saying.
Why don't you expand on that, Glenn? Are you comfortable with the way the running back room is? And maybe we can assume that come playoffs that J.K. Dobbins will be back, which obviously would be a massive boost if he's 100% healthy. But as it stands right now, Glenn, how are you feeling about the running back room?
Feeling a little bit better after this Raiders game, and Cam and I have talked offline about this, and that RJ's his pass pro has even gotten better. Like he's becoming a more complete back, and the fact that it started happening right after JK got hurt is just a massive boost. I don't know what else they can do. I don't know who's available at this point. And who do you bring in that's going to mesh with the team with only 4 games left before the playoffs? I don't know. I think we continue to ride these guys. And let's see what Sean calls. But I love the Prentice suggestion, giving him some more carries. I thought, the dude's been just an absolute beast this year.
And I want this to go viral, so I'm going to need you guys' help. If you're in the comments, I want you to help spread this like wildfire. Adam Prentice is not just a fullback. Adam Prentice is the fullest back. Because I absolutely love what we have seen out of Adam Prentice. And I think it's hilarious. Mike, you said, and some other people have been saying, like, he reminds me of Peyton Hillis. And honest to God, that's true. And if you all remember, like, if you're watching this and you remember, like, those mid-2000s Broncos teams, which, I mean, at that point, you could pretty much plug in anybody. Like, Olandis Gary had 1,000 yards. There was a person named Selvin Young at some point who was a really effective back. But, like, yeah, Peyton Hillis was purely a fullback. And the only reason that he started, I believe it was a game against the Miami Dolphins, maybe in 2008 or 2009 or something like that. And Hillis ended up being the lead running back because every single other running back on the roster was hurt. And the Broncos had no other option. So they went to Peyton Hillis, and he exploded in that game, ended up being like their full-time running back. Got a big deal with Cleveland. I think he had one good year there, and then just completely fizzled after that. But man, if we could get a little bit of Adam Prentice, because here's the thing, like, let me take you guys back to the game in London against the Jets when the Broncos had 3rd and 10 and they called a fullback draw to Adam Prentice. And at the time, I thought it was the dumbest call of all time. But now that we've seen a little bit more Adam Prentice, maybe it wasn't that silly to begin with. Mike, you're talking about giving RJ Harvey more carries and letting him get to that 25. Give Adam Prentice 25 carries. Let him get going. Let him run some people over. I think the only thing is that maybe Adam Prentice needs to work on his stiff arm.
I was going to say
just a little bit because low-key, that was
the longest run of his life. That was the longest run of his life
since high school.
Yeah.
Like, did not have a run that long in college. And so what's funny about that is, like, the DB is squaring him up. He's got probably at least 50, 60 pounds on the DB. Goes for a stiff arm, and the DB just swipes the stiff arm down.
Falls on his face.
It's like, this is how you know that he does not carry the ball a lot. Because I guarantee if you put him in that situation 10 times, he probably scores 8 of those times because he doesn't get okey-doked on a tackle on an attempted stiff arm. It's like, brother, just lower your shoulder and run his ass over.
Yeah, let's hope this isn't his last run and this becomes his career highlight, because damn, that was almost great. Now it's just kind of funny. But that was a big play for us.
He's got to score him a touchdown. We saw a handful of Michael Burton touchdowns last year at the goal line. That's the only thing that's missing from the Adam Prentice highlight reel is a touchdown. Cam, before we segue, go ahead and give us your thoughts on the running back room.
Well, I was gonna say, like, it was almost like obviously Mario and I do the pickup football. It was like you're playing pickup football that you're trying to like stiff arm the guy, but you're way too amped up for the run that you just had. So you're trying to stiff arm him like a little bit too early. It was kind of like one of those moments, but like, yeah, it was very, I guess the only bad part about the Prentice thing. But I think the thing that should at least get Bronco fans in excitement is like to see that RJ Harvey game at like the early point, like of his starts, right? Like, because he had been in some games, but this was like his third start at this point post J.K. Dobbins. And so the fact that you were able to see it in such a, I mean, yeah, it was the Raiders, but the Broncos win that game. They had the full, what is it, the full opportunity to be above New England for that number one seed. So it was still relatively a big game and the big moment of the season. So the fact that they relied on RJ Harvey for 100 plus all-purpose yards, and this is all coming on the surface of Sean Payton once again shouting off from the rooftops about trusting me and trusting the fact that RJ Harvey is that dude, during the week leading up to the Raiders game. Once again, he proved that he was right.
He was right.
That in this game with RJ Harvey. And I think that like that should give optimism for possibly like what Harvey can be in this offense. And I mean, obviously we know that Evan Ingram posted, his Joker gif and everything when he signed here. And I think that there's still opportunities where he can be, that kind of Joker. But what's to say we don't have like two?
So you're saying that Adam Prentice is in fact the Joker? I 100% agree, Cameron.
But
this show's gone off the rails.
But no, I mean, like, when you have Evan Ingram and then you have RJ Harvey, like that should be exciting because like the moment that they start shutting down some of these other options, you can at least have someone in Harvey that could be that Kamara of everybody that have been preaching that since he was drafted. So like if you get that on a consistent basis, that kind of game with Harvey, I think the offense is going to take a whole new level. And I will say this for Harvey, like that was everything that you would have envisioned him as a draft prospect coming out. Like one of the biggest things that was like, as far as an underrated moment of the game, was that play like in the first drive of the game, right? Like the first drive of the game where they threw the check down and, it was so bad that he fought out of a tackle that the Raiders player tackled the other Raiders player as they were fighting for more yards, and so just like his contact balance is impressive. Like his contact balance is so impressive, and that's been dating back to UCF. So like that should again give Bronco fans so much excitement for what could possibly be with Harvey. So if things progress, I would love obviously the possibilities of a true running back one in this type of offense, and having JK back would certainly be a huge plus. But like that should give you the future of like, can he be that running back one? Well, it certainly looked like it against the Raiders.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what happens long term. It's like, do you bring back J.K. Dobbins, who of course was fantastic, but that was the thing. Like we knew that about J.K. Dobbins. Everybody knew that when he is on the field and when he is healthy, honestly, he's a top 10 running back, and we saw that.
Mhm.
And the Ravens saw it for years, and the Chargers saw it for the year that he was there. And it's just unfortunate that he got saddled with the injury-prone label, especially considering how he got hurt this latest time, where it's like through no fault of his own, it was an illegal hip drop tackle, which is exactly why they're trying to ban it. I don't think the guy that performed the hip drop tackle even ended up getting fined, and nothing happened to him. But I think this is a question that they're going to have to answer. It's like, if J.K. Dobbins comes back and he helps them on their playoff run, then I think, he solidifies a spot. Maybe you just keep giving him these 1-year deals so that you're not having to allocate too much money. But that still is a decision that you're going to have to make, where it's like, do you move forward with J.K. Dobbins, or do you address it in the draft? And this isn't going to be a great running back draft. Like you have Jeremiah Love at the very top, who kind of stands alone, and he's not going to be there when the Broncos pick at 32 anyway. And then I think Jonah Coleman out of Washington is probably RB2 right now. And then you have a bunch of guys who are more like situational backs. Like you have some scat backs, some guys that are good at catching the ball out of the backfield. And then you have some like bigger bodies. And honestly, if it's me, if they don't end up bringing J.K. Dobbins back, I think you get like one of these pass catching scat back types, like a better version of a Jaleel McLaughlin, and you got to get some meat. Like you got to get a big boy in there, like Coleman out of Washington, who's taller than 5'8", right, Mike? Who weighs more than 205 pounds, and so again, it'll be interesting to see how they address that, but. I mean, it feels like unanimously, like we're comfortable with where the running back room is right now. And yeah, granted, like you said, Cam, it was against the Raiders, and so you have to take it with a grain of salt. But if Harvey can maintain that kind of production against a defense like the Packers, and then a defense like the Jaguars, because during the stretch, like I mentioned earlier, this really difficult stretch of 4 games they have coming up, all good run defenses and all defenses that you have to run the ball against because you have to keep their offense off the field and you have to keep your defense fresh. And so I think these next 4 weeks and certainly this coming Sunday against the Packers will be the ultimate measuring stick to see like how comfortable are you really with RJ Harvey going forward. And Mike, honestly, I think you hit it right on the head, and that's something that I would lobby for as well. Is you got to give him 25 carries. You got to give him a chance to get going because Harvey's one of these guys who at any moment can break off a big run, like we saw in his first career game against Tennessee.
Mario, that's not the Sean Payton way, though. The 25 carries, he likes to spread them out.
And that's inherently the problem, right? Like even when he had Kamara was seldom getting 25 carries a game, and so I think that's why we have to look at it and like hold a mirror up to the situation. But they don't have a lot of options right now because their bell cow is hurt.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, go for it.
I actually think they should offer J.K. Dobbins a 1-year contract right now. I think they should bring him back for next year. Just his attitude alone, and I don't think it would cost a lot of money. We need to have multiple guys in the. He wants to be here. His teammates seemingly love him. I think now, show him a little bit of love. You could probably get him for $4 million. I mean, he was under 3 this time. I think you could even maybe get him for $3 million this year. For next year. But I'm not opposed to them throwing a 1-year deal out to him right now.
He's coming back.
Well, I was going to say,
I hope so. He should. I mean, he just feels like a Denver Bronco, and he said how much he loves it here, and and maybe it's just it's media fodder, but God, if it is, he's doing a really good job of it. He's endeared himself to Broncos country to the point that a lot of people aren't really concerned about his health. They're like, we don't care. We love JK. However many games you get out of him is fine with us. And so as we're previewing kind of like these last 4 games, gentlemen, and we can start talking about the playoffs a little bit and potential matchups. The title of this is, are the Denver Broncos legit Super Bowl contenders, or should they be favorites? Or I don't know how Zach decided to word it. He usually kind of goes rogue off of what I tell him. But here's the last coverage point that we're going to get to before we all do a little bit of bricked up. Are the Broncos the best team in the NFL right now, tied with the longest win streak, 4th best defense in the league, an offense that seems like they're starting to really figure it out and click at exactly the right time? And I bring this up almost every week, where when I nitpick things going on with this team, it's not because I'm unsatisfied or because I'm unhappy with what's happening, but it's because I consider this team a very legit Super Bowl contender. I personally consider this team the best team in the NFL, because you don't accidentally win 11 games in the NFL. And people can poo-poo on it all they want and talk about the level of competition, but the bottom line is they've had some massive wins, something that they weren't able to do last year. They're winning the 1-score games, something that they weren't able to do last year. And it feels like all of the things that made them come up short last season, they have corrected. And they have become a complete football team. And this is a down year for the NFL. Like, not only are the Broncos improving and trending way upwards in the correct direction, but the usual suspects in the AFC, these aren't the same teams that we've seen the past 5-10 years. The Buffalo Bills seem like they're starting to figure it out a little bit, but God, they got boat raced by Miami a few weeks ago. We all know what's happened to the Kansas City Chiefs, and we're all celebrating, but I think that we would be foolish to assume that they're down and out for good. Right. Like, I think as long as Mahomes is there, that they are going to be a factor. But then you look at like the Cincinnati Bengals. Of course, Joe Burrow gets hurt; they're a non-factor. The Baltimore Ravens look like they have no clue what they're doing. It's like one week they'll look like a legit team, the next week they look like one of the worst teams in the NFL. And so, who are we really worried about in the AFC? And so there's a changing of the tide, and I think this is the time when the Broncos need to strike as the iron is hot. I still thought going into the season that they were a year away from being like a legit Super Bowl contender, but they have not only like outperformed my expectations, but all of the teams that you would consider like fearful matchups in the playoffs, all the teams that I just listed, they're not really factors aside from like probably the Buffalo Bills at this point. You're looking at the New England Patriots, who were bad last year, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were bad last year. And I guess the Pittsburgh Steelers are kind of there because their division is an absolute joke. So, Mike, I'll start with you. Are the Denver Broncos the best team in the league right now as it stands? And are they legit Super Bowl contenders?
Mario, they are legit Super Bowl contenders. There's no doubt about that. They're 11-2. They've shown they can win close games, blowout games, ugly games. They've shown they can win every game except when there's no time on the clock, and then somehow they lose. So legitimately, but I would say, honestly, if I'm going to put my neutral hat on, the Broncos are the best team in the AFC. I do believe that, even though the Patriots have the record. So you can't always say the record's everything. I think the Broncos are the best team in the AFC. And it's just really close. I don't think there's a team. So I'm going to say no, but I'm going to say there's not a team in the NFL that the Broncos can't beat. But the Rams, I think, are just a really, really good team this year. I would probably put the Rams first and then the Broncos second. If I had $1,000, you got to bet on one of them straight up on a neutral site. As a Broncos fan, I would put it on the Broncos. But that, just because of that, I think the Rams are probably, in my eyes, the best overall team right now. But it's really close.
Cameron, what do you think?
Yeah, kick me off. I mean, kick me off the show now if you want, Mario. I mean, it's fine. But, I mean,
do you
I'm always
want to leave? You already stepped away.
Well, I got a 120-pound German Shepherd that really tells me when I do things and when I don't do things. And she wants to go outside. She's going outside one way or the other. So, yeah.
I will say it is definitely a conversation. Like it is definitely a conversation. I think probably the best way to say it is like the Broncos are the best team in the AFC. But I think that there's a reason why, even with record, the Broncos, frankly, are the best team in the NFL. And there's frankly one game that actually tips it that way. And that's the fact the Rams lost to the Panthers. And so I think that the fact is like, if you really look at it from the standpoint of the Denver Broncos and its overall year, there probably is no team, when you look at the schedule from top to bottom, from week 1 to week 2, where, I mean, like the Broncos have probably been more battle tested than any team in the NFL. I mean, they've won any kind of game, as you alluded to. They've won in comeback fashion. Frankly, it's been all sorts of comeback fashion. And I think as this season is progressing, win or lose, I think that the fact that we are so far along to what you even said, Mario, in terms of a year ahead, we're winning these types of games in year 2 of a second-year quarterback and a second-year system of Sean Payton instilling this system. The fact that we're seeing that now is a massive step in the right direction, because 3 years ago, we were crying in a corner, wishing we could have this franchise quarterback and this kind of team at this particular moment. And we are right now at this moment the number 1 seed in the AFC, and for good reason, because we have gotten there. And I think that really it's just the case where I think as each game has gotten progressively throughout the year, they've won. They are battle tested, and so once they get to that point and they get to the playoffs, every single game that they've had in that regular season has led them up to possibly having those kind of games in the playoffs. So they are most definitely, by record and by everything that they've seen, is the best team in the NFL, and certainly the most battle-tested team in the NFL.
Bueno, the Broncos the best team in the league?
Because there's not one clear-cut team that's just running away with that title, so to speak. I think you have to say that the Broncos do match up as the best team, just by virtue of they're the best record, number 1 seed. Like Cam said, they've won all types of different types of games. They're a team that anyone who's a football fan.
Mike said that.
Oh, all right.
That's fine.
There's
no pride of
It's past Glenn's bedtime. Give him a break.
I've got the smallest head on this show, so whatever.
Geez, I lost my train of thought.
They're 11-2. They deserve to be where they are. Blah 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 blah. Back to you, Mario.
We're agreeing with Mike, not Cameron.
I'm so thrown off by that. But it's one of those teams that if you're just any sort of a football fan, if the Broncos are on, you are going to tune in until the rest of that game. You are under the impression that this team is going to come back and win, because we have done that. The 2 losses, as Mike alluded to, came with 0 seconds on the clock. One of them a freak terrible decision. And I know that we did have some close games at the last minute that maybe could have gone as losses, but this is an exciting team. This is an 11-win team. We got 3 more games at home out of the 4 remaining. I think you got to say, just by virtue of the record and the standings right now, and where we sit, I think we're the best team in the NFL.
Guys, every single time in their storied history that the Denver Broncos have been 10-2 in a season, they have gone to a Super Bowl 4 times, 4 for 4. 4 times they have been 10-2. 4 times they have gone to a Super Bowl, and 2 times they have won that Super Bowl. And if that doesn't get you bricked up, then you don't have a pulse. This is bricked up. Like Carmellini, what has you bricked up?
Man, I'm gonna go a little different. I'm a regular on the show, guys. In case you didn't know, he loves me so much he can't get enough. He can't quit me. So I'm gonna go. What's got me bricked up? But it's a kind of it's a somber, sad story, guys. So, Cam, do you play violin? Could you just whip out a little violin for me? I'd like to talk to all the Chief fans out there who are crying about their 6-7 record, which is tied with the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, I know. My 12-year-old does that. So, yeah, that's cool. 6-7 with the Dolphins. And what do? They're blaming the referees. Well, welcome to the club, Kansas City. And, oh, by the way, you're not even in the club. The Chiefs aren't even in the top 10 of teams in penalty yards. Okay, so shut up with that. You're just getting called like the rest of the league for the first time in your life. For most Chiefs fans, they've only been around for about 6 years. The Denver Broncos are the most penalized team in the league, and we're 11-2. So cry about the penalties all you want. But, oh, by the way, your 7 losses, let me tell you who's even worse than you in penalties. The Jaguars, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Texans. Hell, the Chargers only have 4 fewer penalties than you on the whole season. And guess what? You lost to all of those teams. So it's not penalties. It's because you're a trash team this year, just like we were with Hackett. Get used to it. Get on your couch, snuggle up, watch the playoffs at home, and invite Patrick Mahomes over because he's not going to have anything else to do that day. Thank you, Mario. Back to you, buddy.
Cameron, what has you bricked up?
I will take, if you will, the last 3 weeks of what's got me bricked up, and that is the performance of Bo Nix. The performance of Bo Nix. The performance of Bo Nix the last 3 weeks has been, like when you want your best player or your best players to be playing in terms of bigger games as the season is ending, you want it to more than likely be your quarterback. And he has turned up the heat when it comes to his performance. I mean, it started with, for what we were saying, the biggest game in the last 10 years with that Kansas City Chiefs game. And he once again shredded Steve Spagnuolo's defense. And, and then he's taken it every single time. No, he has not had passing touchdowns, but it's about the performance and everything that has been going forward in each and every week. He has been surgical, and he is distributing the ball to everyone on his, on this team. I mean, he has been everything you could have asked for. He has been playing through these at least 3 weeks at an MVP type of level. I mean, like, it is super impressive. And if this thing continues and he puts up 3-4 touchdowns in the last 4 games of the season, you will see me be quite insufferable about some Bo Nix MVP type talks when it comes to the end of the season.
more
Glenn, what has
insufferable.
you bricked up?
I gotta agree with Mike. The last 3 weeks of Bo Nix has been unbelievable. Now, you know what has me bricked up is the topics and our conversations that we're having at this point in the season.
Pretty soon, me and Glenn are just going to start doing a show together. We're going to get an apartment.
I'll just
we're going to
playing violin.
rent. We're going to rent
Interchangeable.
see how it goes.
The not so odd couple.
Go ahead, partner, Glenn.
You know what it those aren't pillows. The topics that we're talking about as Bronco fans at this point in the season is what has me bricked up. We're talking about, are we going to be benching our players in the last game of the season to rest them up for the number 1 seed in the playoffs? That we're not talking about, that we're talking about what big time wide receiver are we looking at next year? We're not looking at, oh my gosh, what quarterbacks are available in the draft? What coaches might be available because this one sucks? None of that. In our chat on the last show, it's all other teams. It's like there's a massive amount of other teams' fans just like trying to goof on the Broncos and trash them. That's not what was happening before. We were the laughing stock when we had Russell Wilson. And guess what, folks? We have his money off the books after the season. All this stuff has me bricked up.
Tell you fellas what has me bricked up. Aside from the fullest back Adam Prentice, who is the most underrated, underappreciated player, not only on the Broncos, but potentially the entire league. Nay, what has me bricked up are the haters, the doubters, the people that want to call the Broncos frauds, the people that want to say that the Broncos are the worst 11-2 team that they have ever seen. It's not sustainable. They can't keep getting away with this. They can't keep coming back in the fourth quarter and winning. They can't keep pulling out these one-possession games. But let me tell you why you're wrong. First of all, the only reason that you think that is because you have been so satiated in your thought that the Broncos are not good that you failed to see the big picture, and you're clearly not watching Broncos games. And you know what? Let me do this. I'm going to take you guys back to 2013. Fantastic year. Glorious year for the most part. The Broncos had a historically good offense. Peyton Manning, to this day, has the record for touchdown passes in a season, a record that, despite there now being 17 games, will probably never be beaten in our lifetime, or at least not anytime soon. That is what is not sustainable, as we saw as it all came to a head in the Super Bowl, in Super Bowl 48 against the Seattle Seahawks. They were beating the brakes off of teams routinely week in and week out. It was a shock when they lost, and it was also a shock if the games were close. That, boys and girls, is what is not sustainable. And then we go forward 2 years to 2015. They just kept finding ways to win. They didn't blow anybody out. I think their biggest margin of victory during the regular season was maybe 10, 11 points, something like that. The biggest blowout that the 2015 team had was in the Super Bowl against the Carolina Panthers, against the team that had what? The number 1 offense in the entire league. The team that was blowing other teams out the entire season. The team that had the vaunted offense. The difference between the 2013 and the 2015 teams, not just the fact that it was the defense, not just the fact that Peyton Manning was a shell of himself in 2015. It was the fact that, like you guys said earlier, the team was battle tested. They got put into difficult situations, and they always found a way to win. Peyton Manning got hurt. Brock Osweiler came in, and they did not miss a beat. They did not lose a game that Brock Osweiler started. He beat the Patriots in the snow in a primetime game, a game that nobody thought that team would win. But it's not sustainable. Peyton Manning wasn't good enough. He was a shell of himself. The defense can't keep bailing them out. It's not sustainable. And they sustained it to a Super Bowl victory. So I don't want to hear that the way that the Broncos have been winning for the entire season, the way that the Broncos have been winning for the last 10 straight games is not sustainable, because guess what? 10 games is fucking sustainable. That's a long-ass time. That's 2.5 months worth of games they have not lost, and they're doing damn near the same thing every freaking game. That is much more sustainable than beating a team by 2, 3, 4 touchdowns. And I saw somebody in the chat earlier that said we need to beat the Packers convincingly, or however they worded it. No, they don't. They need to win. Because when you get to the end of the season, you're not going to look back and say, oh, we barely beat the Jets. Oh, we should have lost to the Giants. We barely came back. Oh, we barely beat the Texans. Oh, we had to come back and beat the Chiefs. No, you know what they're going to look like? Or what they're going to look at? They're going to look at the final record of this team. They're going to look and see that they won 14 or 13 games, that they won the AFC West, that they're the number 1 seed in the AFC, and they're going to think, hot damn. What a fun season that was. Let's go win a freaking Super Bowl. So, yeah, what has me bricked up is the haters because they're proving that they have little to no ball knowledge at all. Winning games by 3 touchdowns is not sustainable. Winning in the fourth quarter because your quarterback is absolute nails is sustainable. Winning in the fourth quarter because your defense steps up at exactly the right moment every time you need them to, that is sustainable. And it is that sustainability that is going to carry the Denver Broncos to a Super Bowl victory. Coach Sean Payton, how do we do that?
Gosh, your own little internet shows are driving me crazy.
In a good way.
In a good way. I don't know what else to say.
I remember
we get out of here, guys.
I remember a Packers Broncos game that we, barely won. It was the Super Bowl, 31-24, and Favre was marching, and Atwater was on the sideline with about a broken neck, and somebody else was. And if it wasn't for a knockdown pass, nobody cares now. We won that game. That's all that matters, Mario. You're right. Like, nobody's going to look back. If we win the Super Bowl, nobody's going to look back. It's tough enough to remember Osweiler played how many games, Glenn, in that season?
4 or 6 or whatever it was.
Like 6 games or something, wasn't
he played a lot.
I mean, nobody cared
enough that he thought he should have still been the starter.
Yeah, he went to Texas or something and made a whole bunch of money.
Guys, how many games did Bubby Brister start in the 98 season when they won their second Super Bowl? Does anybody remember Bubby Brister? I mean, I do because
he's one of your favorite players.
He was like the coolest guy ever. But you don't look back and be like, oh, well, we were able to somehow win games with Bubby Brister. It's like, who gives a shit?
Super Bowl with an asterisk.
You just win.
And everybody's love child last year was the Kansas City Chiefs. And what did they do? They literally had every single game was a 1-score game. And they ended up going to the Super Bowl and obviously getting waxed, but they made it to the Super Bowl. So you can't tell me that it's not sustainable. It is 100% sustainable. Like,
and the narrative is different for some reason, right? For no reason at all. Because when the Chiefs were doing it last year, the narrative was, well, they're a good team. They just find ways to win. But the Broncos do it, and they do it in actually like a more convincing fashion as a more complete football team. And then all of a sudden it's ugly. It's like, well, they're not winning the right way. They barely beat the Jets. They barely beat the Raiders. They barely beat the Giants. These are all bottom feeders of the NFL. Who cares?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the only stat that matters is wins and losses. This isn't college football where we're trying to rationalize Notre Dame getting into the college football playoff. You don't need convincing wins. You just need wins. They don't look at how much you win by.
You notice how high, the octaves, like he goes up like just a little bit higher all the time as he gets more bricked up.
You get a little bit more fired up.
No, but it's just that I just think like it's one of those things. Like you look at just the overall like season. I think I even made this point on Mainly, but it was just like, frankly, you look at all the games that they played. There's an argument to be made that the game that was the absolute worst game of the entire season, where the team really wasn't giving their best when it came to both teams, was ironically enough, the Broncos and Raiders game on Thursday night. Every single game, for the most part, they gave them their best, and maybe the Jets game, but like they gave them their best, right? Like they gave them their best. And like every single game that they've had in terms of more often than not, these comeback fashions, like Washington, the Giants, like everything has been like at their best. And so like anybody that wants to say like, well, they're playing down to the competition, maybe, but it's the other team that are playing up because we are the hunted, not the hunter. And so it's just like, and so it's just like, I mean, I don't know. It goes to show you how much like there's filthy casuals in the world that really don't know when it comes to the Denver Broncos.
You filthy casuals, you.
Before we get out of here, boys, thank you all so much for joining me. Fantastic show. You all did an amazing job, which is exactly why I brought you on this show. Maybe next time you get an invite, you will be on time, Glenn and Cameron. Mike, one last time, go ahead and plug where everybody can find you and your incredible content.
Oh, thank you, Mario. Finally rebranded the show, Mile High Monster. Mile High Monsters on YouTube. You can find us over there. Mic'd Up is just one of the shows we do. So I had to rename the whole channel, and apparently it's working quite well, as I will selflessly, humbly offer to you that my channel is the fastest growing, 27% over the season. So thank you to whoever keeps that stat. I don't know who it is who does those numbers, but he's an awesome, good-looking guy with a fantastic wife.
Sounds like a nerd.
Sounds like a nerd. You're a nerd. Your face is
talking about numbers. That's nerd shit. We don't talk about nerd shit on altitude adjustment
tonight, but I didn't do it because he had some LGTBYOA/stat, and I thought I'm not going to nerd out tonight, so I'm not doing it. But thank you, Mario. Shout out to you for having us on, and Cam and Glenn. I love you guys. It's so good to see you, and I miss you guys. It's good to see you, Glenn. Try and stay home. Try and stay home a little bit. But yeah, thanks for everybody that watched all our shows. Like and subscribe to everybody's, please. And I'm sure that Zach will lovingly put all the links in the description at some point, and Mario will make sure that he does that.
No, we can't mess with the algorithm, which is a word that I totally knew before today. Cam, plug all of your fantastic content, please.
Oh man, make sure you hit the subscribe button for the MHRT network page. Also, YouTube is now doing this thing now where you can actually do memberships now. So make sure you hit the join button for MHRT network, and so you can do the different subscriptions and everything for that. We also created, I want to say, like a couple months ago, the Mainly Broncos YouTube channel. So subscribe to the Mainly Broncos YouTube channel. We're doing a lot of like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok short form that has really taken off in the last, like, I'd say like 2 or 3 months, if you will. So shout out Josh Sherman, who does our short form on that. But follow me over there on X at Cameron Parker PO. We do our shows typically every Wednesday at 7:30 at Mountain Time. We won't be doing it this week though, because I have a Christmas party to attend to on Wednesday. But we will be doing it on Thursday this week. So make sure you tune in at about 7:30, and then obviously the 5280 podcast, where we are apparently late coming to Mario.
You mean apparently? You very clearly were late. That's not like a debatable thing. You're done, Cameron. Glenn, plug your wonderful content.
My wonderful content. The MHRT network, please like, subscribe, support us and the rest of our shows. We do have the 5280 podcast every Tuesday night. Starts at 7 p.m. Mountain. Goes at about an hour and 4 minutes generally. So we
oddly specific. So specific. Funny. Thanks a lot, Mundungus.
But just great to see you guys. It's awesome to be here. Thank you.
Likewise.
For sure. Couple things. David said not enough Mahomes declining talk, but I'll forgive it. No. Don't forgive us for that, because you're right. Mahomes is washed. The more kids that he's had, the worse that he's gotten. He's a check down artist. He's a flag monger. We saw it firsthand in Denver. Like, the only big plays that you're really going to see out of Mahomes are desperation heaves, or when he's trying to draw penalties against Riley Moss. Mahomes is cooked. He's done. Travis Kelce was the straw that stirred that drink, and he has become a bendy straw. I don't understand why I said that. It doesn't make any sense. But
that's 4 sexual references. So tonight I've been keeping track.
Mahomes is washed. There you go, David. And Andy, you know what? Mario got through a whole show without talking about Ben Solak. I think you're wrong, Andy, because I will say right now that Benjamin Solak is a little bitch who clung so tightly to his false beliefs about Bo Nix that he and his little incontinent ass waited a year and a half for Bo Nix to have one subpar enough game to drop some asinine article about why Bo Nix actually isn't good and why he should have been a second-round pick. Own your shit, Ben. Okay? Just admit that you were wrong. What is it about people named Ben not being able to own up to when they are wrong? It drives me crazy. Thank you all so much for watching. Mario Vitanzi, Mike Carmellini, Glenn Hauser, Cameron Parker. This is Altitude Adjustment. You're welcome. And I'll see y'all next week. Okay, I love y'all.
Hey, feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up.